the pop culture field nebula.
No, you don't remember when you were born.
Nope.
So what evidence do you have based on your own personal experiences that when you were born, you weren't put into a program, since you can't remember your first memory of opening your eyes and you're basically, do you remember you exiting your mother?
Nope. Sure don't.
Yeah. So how can you defend the fact that you're not in a simulation right now based on your lack of evidence that you're not in a simulation?
Right, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, are you asking me?
I mean, we're not on a debate team, and I'm not assigned to defend this. But if I was,
that would
I think
be kind of your line
I'd
of
kind of
questioning.
that would be the course I run.
Yeah.
Because I totally off topic, but like the world is such an interesting place. Like I don't think we realize. I had like a high thought while driving the other day. While I was not high, I was completely sober.
You mean you had a high level thought?
Yeah, I guess, which could have been, if I was defending this thesis, which could have been a glitch in the matrix, which could have been a glitch in the simulation to where I became aware. Like I was driving and like the sun was hitting me in the face. And then I was like, oh, that sun's kind of bright. And then like it hit me. I was just like, holy shit. There is a flaming ball that is millions of light years away. Millions of light years away that is still visible to us. That
millions of miles away, not millions of light years, but millions of miles away.
Yeah, that's not Star Wars, but millions of miles away that is still visible, that we cannot look directly in the eye without protection, that provides us daylight. Like there is just some burning sphere. This is like, to me, it's out of a fantasy. Like it's completely out of, it's made up science, like sci-fi bullshit. But it's like there is literally a flaming ball that is floating in not necessarily just space, but is floating in an area of nothingness that we cannot survive. And it just provides us vitamins. And it,
and like, oh, you want to get into that, man? I've heard a little bit about this. You like, and we are exactly the perfect distance away from that star in order to sustain life, right? And like, there's a perfect amount of gravity that holds us within its orbit. And then we also have a moon that helps to create regular seasons for our planet. Like this is all like a creationism, like a Christian kind of thing. Like, how could you possibly say that all of this just happened by random happenstance and chance over? You got to give yourself billions of years, because it's just, that's how you give yourself the opportunity for these things to kind of fall into place. It's like, no, we are perfectly situated.
Unless it is a simulation.
Simulation.
Unless it was literally crafted by some higher beings in the beginning.
And then that would be the question, is like, who are these beings? Like, what kind of simulation are we in, and who is controlling us? Like, is it the machines?
Yeah.
Is it us in the future? Like, are we not actually, aliens? I don't know, man.
Yeah. Like, what is stress? Like when you're feeling stressed, is it because you're about to make a wrong decision in the course that drives your life?
Yeah.
Like, in video games, when you're like, say you're in video games, you like go off the limits and you like start feeling you in some video games, you have like that pulse pumping and it gets louder and louder as you go off the map, and then you just crash.
Yeah.
Like what if that's stress and it's just trying to keep you on the map? It's trying to keep you on your assigned course. But
survival, the human instinct, survival instinct is actually just a simulation trying to keep you in line, because it wants like more of your time and more of your attention and power and control.
Okay, we need to stop talking about this. But we can't.
At the end of this episode, we're going to be convinced.
Yeah, we got to stop talking about this, but we can't, because this is exactly what we're talking about in today's episode of the Pop Culture Field Manual podcast. Welcome, everybody.
Sitting right at the intersection of weapons, action in the military, and reality.
Yeah. Yeah, today we're going to talk about all levels of pop culture that involve some sort of simulation or simulated reality that our protagonists or antagonists or characters in general have to face. And sometimes it is a harsh reality for them to face and they go crazy. But I mean, we haven't done it before. There's a lot of pieces to pick through. So, I mean, hey man, do you just want to dive in here?
Yeah, man. Let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. Let's talk about The Matrix just very quickly. It's such an iconic movie that I think is one of the best, one of the best stories that involves being in a simulation, or your world not actually being your world. It's actually a simulation,
Yeah.
like we're all in the Matrix kind of thing. So, yeah, iconic movie, man. I remember seeing this in theaters. This was what was it when I was in high school, and it just blew everybody away, man. It totally took the culture by storm. Because I think I think a lot of the stuff when it comes to simulation, it's a way to tell a story about control and free will, which they totally touch upon in the over the course of the movies, and especially in this one. But it's like, you don't have control. Your life is not your own. And we human beings, we want to be in control. We want to feel like we are in control of our own lives. And in many ways, we're not. We don't have control. And so that is what the Matrix kind of primarily wrestles with. And humanity ultimately becoming free and becoming masters of our own fate instead of being controlled by the machines,
Sure. It's the red pill
Yeah.
or the blue pill. Do you want to
Which,
continue
yeah.
living your boring life and go to everything you know? Or you take the other pill, which opens your eyes and then allows you to become autonomous and create
That's
your
become
own.
synonymous with like being awakened to some truth as being red pilled. Like, I'm going to red pill you, man. I'm going to wake you up to the truth. It's totally in our culture now,
Yeah. I will be honest. I had to watch The Matrix a few times and I still don't get it. Maybe it's because I'm just so comfortable living my blue pill existence that
it's not all you probably do.
Maybe I'm just stupid because there's a lot of themes in the movie that I'm just like, oh crap, I don't
Yeah,
get
but I think
this.
on a basic level, you get it, man. It's basically the world is not real. We're all in a bunch of tubes being controlled by machines, and then they use our batteries, our batteries, our batteries,
Yeah,
our
batteries.
bodies for batteries. Say that 3 times fast. But and then it's like trying to, and it's about and Neo's supposed to be the one, which is like the Christ-like figure who has come to free people from oppression. And Keanu Reeves, man, I think Will Smith actually was originally supposed to be in that movie. Can you imagine what a different kind of movie it would be if he was in it?
Yeah, no,
I don't think it would be as good. Will Smith's a fine actor, but
he's a mighty fine actor.
He is. I don't know, man. I think Keanu Reeves was the perfect person for this movie. Now, let me ask you this, Cameron. Knowing the Matrix as we do, would you be like Neo? Would you want to be free and get out and know the truth? Or would you be more like Joe Pantoliano's character, the guy who betrayed them to the machines and almost won by giving them up to the machines? Would you want to be like him? Because he wanted to be put back in and he didn't want to remember anything.
Yeah. Man, that's such a hard question. That's literally a red pill, blue pill question.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I served under a regime that, when you give free will away and you just become a cog in the machine, you adapt a routine, things become very safe. Even though in the military, I think the military is kind of like the Matrix because you are, you are, like I said, a cog in the machine.
You're indoctrinated.
You're indoctrinated. You give up free will. You must dress a specific way. You must think a different way. You must think like the rest of us. You have to join the culture or you will be crushed. So, having that experience, which is a real safe thing, even though the job itself, especially in special operations and infantry and, direct action type of jobs in the military, you're putting yourself in harm's way. But at the end of the day, you're in a very safe position economically. You're in a very safe, you have resources available. You're given 3 hots and a cot, they feed you, they house you, they clothe you, you get to work out as much, you're healthy, and you do that every day. It's a very safe thing. You don't have to worry about being homeless. You don't have to worry about paying your bills on time, unless you're spending all your money on booze and not paying your car payment. But it's a very safe place to be. And then the second you get out, that's like you break your chains and then you're like, oh, now I got to figure it out all over again. And that, to me, that's almost like you're taking the red pill because, how many veterans have you met that got out and are just like, wow. The ones, especially combat veterans that went over there and they fought for, what, a lot of civilians say is like you're fighting for politicians. You lost free will, and then
Mm-hmm.
you get out, and then you realize you're like, oh yeah, like I was just, doing what I was told to do. Like I
Mm.
didn't have free will, and then they really regret their decisions, and then they're like, yeah, I'm never going to join again. I'm not going to fight in a foreign war for like
Mm.
something that has nothing to do with me, and then become
Mm.
all woke and hippie like, and then which is cool, which is super cool, and it's a reality. But to me, that's almost like red pilling, and then they're
Yeah.
like breaking free of the matrix. So I guess, since I've done both, I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with the stresses of reality now, to where
Yeah.
like once you get out, like I've been able to adapt. I've been able to, find a strong community that, keeps me on the right path. I consider myself, doing well, all things considered. So for
Mm.
me, yeah, I'd probably want to break free and
Yeah.
red pill it up, because even though I'm out, like I don't trust nobody. You know? I
Yeah.
don't trust the government. The ATF is dumb. Like I don't trust, this isn't a political podcast, but I don't trust the FDA. I don't trust the IRS. I don't trust the CDC. I think they're ran by idiots. Like I don't trust that they know what's best for me. Even
Yeah.
though I served under an entire government that you are indoctrinated to
Yeah.
believe that the army will never steer you wrong. The army knows what's best for you, so just do it and shut up. And then if you want to get out, you're gonna pay the consequences. So, oh no,
Yeah.
I like red pilling it up, man. I think it's fun. It keeps things interesting. And when you go to family dinners, it definitely creates toxicity because you're arguing with everybody. So it's cool.
Yeah, me
What
too,
about
man.
you?
No, I totally red pill all the way. Yeah, I definitely want to get out because I think it's more and more in my life. I am a greater fan of independence and
Yeah.
having my freedom, being able to choose the life that I want and try to go, just go out and be self sufficient and, like you say, not rely on any entity that I do not believe has my best interest in mind, even though it's not a
Yeah.
political podcast. Um, but no, for sure, man. Even if it meant a harder lifestyle, a
Yeah.
harsher life, living in the Earth's core and not having a lot of resources. At least I get to go to raves and have sex with whoever I want to, and
Yeah.
that's how it is, man. So that's it.
Yeah. Well, it's
But
weird when you in the military, when you do challenging things, like at the end of it, that's when you get the most fulfillment. I feel like doing hard stuff is the best way to do it. So, I mean, you get the best feeling when you do something challenging that you didn't think you could do before. And that's to me is like, that's where I get pleasure nowadays, is
yeah,
like, doing hard things that other people can't do, whether it's physically or even emotionally. So that's where I get my enjoyment now. So definitely red pilling it up all the way.
yeah, man. What else do you want to talk about, man? We got a lot of great stuff on this list, and there's a lot of great ways to slice it. Just an honorable mention, real quick: Westworld. At least the first. I've only seen the first 3 seasons, but the first season in particular, I think, is the best one. But Westworld, show on HBO,
Yeah.
until they took it off and decided to sell it to another network. I don't know why they would do that because I wasn't finished watching the show. But it's basically this luxury experience for people to go in. It's a Western town, and then you find out later on there's other portions, like there's like an East world and then and like a Indian kind of world. There's like a Japan world and stuff. But anyway, you start up watching the show and it's the people and they're in this Western town, and then all this crazy stuff starts happening. You realize that they are robots who are the hosts for people who come in and have like this vacation. They don't understand. They don't realize that it's all not real, that it's just for the pleasure of these people to come in, and they can do whatever they want. They can rape and kill and destroy and murder, and there's no consequences
Yeah.
for anything they do because the robots, they're not real. And the robots will get, if they get shot or raped or killed, they'll get brought out, they'll clean them up, they'll repair them, and they'll just put them right back on their loops,
Yeah.
And so that's like a weird mind bending kind of idea where you have this idea of who you are, who you are, right? But then it's revealed to you that everything you are was just programmed into you. It's all lie. You have no identity, and your whole purpose is to be this fantasy fulfillment tool for
Yeah.
somebody else. Your life has no more value than what the next person is willing to do to you.
Yeah, no, and don't and the whole point of the show is like the robots kind of become free thinkers and they start to realize what's going on, right?
Yeah, yeah. The cool thing about the especially the first season of the show is there's these questions of like free will and what is humanity, what makes a human being, and if they make these robots, to feel and to think and to love and to have all these desires and stuff, does that mean that they still deserve to be slaves? And
Yeah,
so in the first season, Anthony Hopkins is the main creator. He's like the co-creator, along with this other guy who's passed in at the time. He's the creator of this whole thing, so he's like this really smart dude, and you come to find out that he's doing some sort of secret project or something that nobody knows about. He's pulling all these resources in and nobody understands what's happening. And then at the last episode of the first season, you find out that what he's been doing has been setting up all of the hosts to basically rebel and to
yeah,
turn on everybody. And it's like his last little, like, he realizes that what he has done has not been right, and so he's been secretly trying to like make amends, basically. And how he does that is he has the host turn on everybody, just start killing everybody. He's like, you think you can play God, you think you can do whatever you want without consequences in this world? Well, guess what, now the puppets are fighting back, and what are you going to do with that?
yeah. That's
It's
kind
pretty
of
cool.
yeah, that's super cool. It's
Yeah,
almost Westworld. The concept is to me is kind of similar. The way it's like, so it's unknown simulation, right? So we have like characters that don't know what's
yeah,
going on. They're just living their day to day. But then on the flip side, you have like movies like Ready Player One, where it's a gaming simulation, so everybody knows it's a simulation, but they're still trying to do things within it to change the course of the world.
yep,
So I think that's super interesting. But we could talk about Ready Player One a little bit, but I know we've mentioned it before.
yeah,
But Total Recall really comes to mind as far as just
yeah,
that one's a super good. Obviously it's an Arnold classic, and then they had the revamp of the
yeah,
Total Recall. But the classic's the classic. I don't
yeah.
think you can improve on that one. But
No,
tell me a little bit about Total Recall, because I don't want to butcher the plot. It's like Total Recall itself is like a simulation entered inside your brain, right? So say you want to
yeah,
go on vacation, and then
yeah.
you go to the Total Recall center and they
It's called Recall is the
yeah,
name of the center.
recall.
Yeah,
Yeah. So then they implant this entire memory inside of your mind. Like, say I wanted to go to vacation to, Japan. So they would literally create this simulation of an entire like 2 week vacation that I took to Japan and just insert it in my mind. So I think that I went there and I had all these experiences, but it never actually happened. So it was like a cheap way to go on vacation, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And Arnold Schwarzenegger plays this guy. He's a construction worker who has the hottest wife ever in Sharon Stone. I don't know how that works, but
Yeah.
and then he just feels like he was meant for something more. He wants something more out of life, and his wife tries to talk him out of it. But then he goes to this place called Recall, and they find out, they describe, like, he's like, do you want like just a regular vacation, or do you want what we call the ego trip, where you get to go and you are somebody else?
Yeah.
Right. And he's like, what did you want to be, like a spy? He's like, yeah, I want to be a spy. He's like, you want to go to Mars and have like a hot, love interest, and then like save the whole planet, and you're fighting dudes, they're trying to kill you. He's like, yeah, yeah. And so they do that, but then they find out that he already had an implant in his head that was covering up something else. And so Arnold Schwarzenegger freaks out, and they put him to sleep. They're like, dude, we have to bring this guy. You blew my cover. They come in here soon. They kill you all.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, we just popped something that we don't know. We don't know why he was reacting this way. So they drug him up and they just dump him in a cab, and they send him home. And then he's like, he doesn't remember what happened. He's like, they put everything back in place. And then all of a sudden, everybody starts like trying to kill him. His wife, turns out she's not his real wife. She was just an agent that was sent to spy on him, because he's actually this dude who was trying to infiltrate like this organization that's like this powerful organization on Mars that's controlling everything. Cohagen is
Yeah.
the bad guy. And so he goes to Mars, and he's like having all this stuff, and there's like a little bit of a thing at the end where he basically saves the day, right? So Arnold Schwarzenegger, he gets the girl, he saves the day. He starts this giant reactor on Mars that melts all these polar ice caps and causes all this atmosphere to form, and Mars becomes a planet that's like habitable for everybody. Because before, the bad dude Cohagen was controlling all the air. And so
Yeah.
he had like all power because he could control the air and all the air processors and stuff. And so at the very end, they're looking out over and everybody's free and there's atmosphere and they're standing on this mountain outside and they're breathing air. And he's like, I just thought of something. And he's like, what if this is all part of the simulation? And she's like, well, you better kiss. He's like, what if it's all dream? He's like, you better kiss me quick before you wake up. Because everything that they talked about in the ego trip is what happens in the movie after that fact. And so there's even like a little musical cue, like it's that ba-da-da-da, and like the music that they would use when he's dreaming, because he would dream about Mars,
Yeah.
like that, kind of a lighter kind of melody. It kind of plays a little bit at the end, right before it goes to credits. It's like, was it a dream? Was it all? Is he just lobotomized in some lab somewhere and he's just dreaming all this stuff,
Like
So,
this entire thing didn't happen at all. It's just
Yeah.
it's just a simulation, man.
Yeah. That movie was great because Paul Verhoeven, who's like a crazy European dude, directed it. So there's like all sorts of sex and blood and like
Yeah.
really graphic.
There's a
Like when
lady
you
with
get
3
decompressed.
boobs.
Yeah, you get
Yeah.
decompressed and your eyes pop out. And Arnold Schwarzenegger was in his prime and Sharon Stone was in her prime. It just like had a bunch of it's just like everything came together, man. I was like, my parents let me watch way too many movies. That was when I watched this when I was 9 years old. This is not a movie you
perfect
should
age
watch when
to be
you're
exposed to
9
all
years old.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But my favorite line is when Sharon Stone attacks him and she's about to win. And then he kind of gets the upper hand and she's like, honey, you wouldn't kill me. I'm your wife. And then bam, he like shoots her in the head. He's like, consider that a divorce.
Yeah. Classic Arnold one-liner.
Yeah,
in there, right?
one-liners, man.
They're
Yeah.
perfect. Well, what did you think about the remake? Do you think it holds true to the original? Because I mean,
I-
there's some movies. This could be an episode on itself.
Oh
that
my
like,
God, yeah.
yeah, remake to remake or not remake.
Right.
Like does it hold? Does it hold true to the original? Is it just as good, or what do you think?
Yeah. No, I mean, I to be honest, man, I've only watched the first 30 minutes and it couldn't hold my interest.
Oh, wow.
I think I had like an opportunity. I was like doing something. I was like, I'll put it in. I've never seen it. And I was watching it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm good with the original. I don't,
Yeah.
It was like they like modernized it and they kind of sanitized it and stuff from what I saw. So I haven't even seen it, man.
Okay. Well, I mean, that could be an episode that's on its own. So
Yeah.
stay tuned
I'll
for
watch it. We'll let you know.
We'll remake episodes. Is it worth it? We'll tell you. But yeah, no, Total Recall is super entertaining. It definitely fits within the theme of today's episode. But
But you trust your own eyes.
yeah,
Like
form
Tom
your own
Cruise
opinion.
Vanilla Sky. I want to go talk about Vanilla
Oh,
Sky.
okay. I saw where you were going with that. Sorry.
Have you seen this one, man?
No, I have not seen Vanilla Sky.
Yeah.
I know Tom Cruise is in it. I know
Tom
it has
Cruise.
something to do with he has an accident.
Yep.
And that's all I know. So why don't you enlighten me?
That's the movie, man. It's actually not all that interesting. He has an accident. And he dies. No, it's actually a remake of I think a Spanish film. But Vanilla Sky, Tom Cruise, 2001. For those of you that like some kind of like a cool, dramatic, mind-bending kind of experience, this would be a good one to check out. Tom Cruise is this big-time executive business guy. He's got lots of money. He's living in the city in New York with his buddy. He has a great life. And then he gets into a horrible accident and his face gets completely disfigured. And it totally kind of wrecks his life because he has this crazy girlfriend, Cameron Diaz, who, he spurns her, but then like she gets really obsessive and then she kind of gets him in the car one day and then she totally just drives off a bridge and she gets killed and then he gets disfigured. So his life is totally ruined, in terms of, emotionally and all that kind of stuff. And he meets Penelope Cruz, who becomes like his new love interest and stuff. But he just can't, like, in the midst of this accident in his life, he just can't kind of get it together, And so, he goes along and he's, it's kind of jumps back and forth between him in prison and then him living his life and kind of telling his story. And he's being interviewed by Kurt Russell, who does a great job. He plays a very like normal role. He's just a psychiatrist who's interviewing Tom Cruise because it is revealed that Tom Cruise has murdered Penelope Cruz and nobody knows why. It's not talked about in the movie until later. And so things just start getting like weird. Like, he'll see Cameron Diaz out in the world, and then she'll like disappear, and he doesn't know why. And then this mysterious dude comes by, and he's like, listen, I need you to understand that none of this is real, and you need to come with me. He's like, what are you talking about? So everything kind of just goes out of control. You finally get to the part of the movie where he is with Penelope Cruz, and I think they're in bed together. And then she turns into Cameron Diaz, and he like can't handle it. And he like puts a pillow over her face and then like smothers her, but then he takes off the pillow and it's Penelope Cruz, and he's killed her.
Oh God.
And so it kind of jumps into the prison, and he finally decides to meet with the mysterious guy, because everything in his life is just so crazy and weird.
Yeah.
And the mysterious dude, the British dude, he's like, listen, what happened is you had this accident in your life, and then and there's this person, Ellie. He's like, who's Ellie? You keep talking about Ellie. He's like, I don't know who Ellie is. And so the guy's like, you came to us, and Ellie is not a person. It's L, the letter L and the letter E, life extension. So what Tom Cruise eventually did is he went and put himself on ice, basically. Like, he put his brain or his body on ice until the technology could advance enough to kind of like reconstruct his face and get his life back and stuff. So he's actually in the future in a simulation. Everything that he's been doing has been in a simulation of his own design, essentially. And what happened is the guilt that he felt over the death of his ex-girlfriend, Cameron Diaz, was starting to cause things to go wrong, because he was manifesting these things in his life to kind of self-destruct, because he just couldn't reconcile, kind of what kind of person he was. And Penelope Cruz was a real person, but like there's a point in the movie where there's like, he's at a club, and he sees her there. He try, and then she tries to get him to come with her, and then he feels guilty, runs off. And that's technically where the simulation started, after that point,
Interesting.
And so he's like, look, if you're ready to kind of reconcile what you did, then you can get out of here. But it's like, your life, it's not what it once was. You're not going to have a lot of money. He's like, but Tom Cruise, like, I'd rather live in the real world than live a lie. He's like, I'd rather face my life rather than kind of have this comfortable lie that he created in this simulation, And so it's about, coming to terms with the choices that you've made in life. And Kurt Russell's so great. He's like, he's on the roof of this building. Yeah. Talking to this dude, and the guy, and it's like, your part of you wants to stay. And that's what Kurt Russell was representing, is the part of you that wants to stay. And right at that moment, Kurt Russell comes on. He's like, listen, you've got to come with me. This guy's a liar. We got to get out of here. And, and he's like, this is what he's supposed to do, because that's his purpose, and then, it's kind of fun. He's like, you got to do something that represents you want to get out of here. He's like, you got to jump off this building. And so he jumps off the building, and everything, he's like falling, and every kind of thing starts trying to slow down and stops. And then it goes black, and then you see him open his eyes, and that's like, everything's over. He's like, he's awakened now, So.
Oh, geez.
Really fun, man. Really kind of mind bending. It was one of those ways of science fiction. I've said it before, is it's a different tool to help us kind of tell the human story. You use these kind of, you put aliens, crabs on people's heads and Star Trek and stuff, but it's all us. It's all just about us. And so you use these wild concepts to try to kind of stretch this idea out of like, well, how do you deal with guilt, and how do you deal with grief, and how do you deal with friendship? And, so it was really, really good movie. If you haven't seen it, it's one of Tom Cruise's kind of better acting. He's always puts 110%, but it's not like an action movie. So it's just him being Tom Cruise,
It's just Tom being Tom, huh?
Tom being Tom, baby. Yeah.
No. Well, I'm definitely gonna have to check that one out. It seems very interesting. Yeah, I didn't know about this movie until we put it on this list, because there's a lot of movies here I haven't seen, and a couple big ones actually I haven't seen. Like,
really?
Like Inception.
What? You have not seen Inception, man?
No, I haven't. All I know is that it's about a dream within a dream, and then it has good old Leonardo DiCaprio spearheading the dream infiltration. But I've seen, like, obviously, like, another South Park reference, like they do. Like, South Park does a good spin-off on it, and they just always do the music. They're explaining the dream concept, and then some guy in the background is just going, And all I know is like, okay, so there's a concept, and this is just from me taking what I know about the movie. Never seen it, but okay, so if you have a concept like that, there's a team led by Leonardo DiCaprio that like if they want to sway or make somebody do something, like make a specific decision or an action, they can embed inside their dreams and place this idea to where when they wake up, it's their own idea, and you're basically manipulating people through dreams to do
Yeah.
specific things. Is that kind of accurate?
That's where the title Inception comes from. That's what the procedure is called for this team. It's called Inception, where they're trying to put this idea. And the thing is they got to bury it deep. And Inception, actually, I think more to the point, he deals in this kind of dream manipulation or idea manipulation. But Inception is actually something that's very controversial. Nobody knows if it's actually even possible. Is where you go so deep into somebody's subconscious. You go like 3 layers deep, which is like super, super deep, and you implant this idea, and then that changes like the course of this whole person's life. But it's very controversial. Nobody thinks it's possible, but he gets approached by Ken Watanabe, this kind of big time businessman, Japanese businessman, who says, look, there's this guy, Cillian Murphy, his father owns this company, and it's the biggest like oil company in the world. It controls like everything. And so what we want him to do is when the old guy passes on and his son inherits the company, we want him to break up the company into smaller companies, and so that he won't have a monopoly anymore, because if he does, he's just going to continue controlling everything. And we want things to break up so that there's more competition and more like kind of better for everybody overall if he does this. And so he's like, I heard that you can do this. And the people, say, Leonardo DiCaprio's business people like, no, it can't be done. Leo says it can be done because I've done it. And I actually, man, I don't even want to say anything else because that's like the first 20 minutes of the movie, but it's so good to me. This is like, it's a run and gun battle for my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. I think I like Interstellar a bit better because Christopher Nolan, he's kind of like a science fan, right? He's like he loves all these kind of scientific ideas and or psychological ideas, quantum physics or whatever. And so he is somebody who's really good at putting these concepts into a narrative form while also telling a story about people,
Yeah.
And I think he kind of, has gotten a little bit away from that with things like Tenet and, a little bit to the certain extent like Dunkirk. But
I'm sorry you hated Tenet so much because I was in it.
I know. That's why I hated it. That's why
Yeah,
I didn't hate it
exactly.
until I found out you were in it,
Yeah.
But it's like that was to me, Tenet was just like too much concept and not enough character. Like literally the guy's name is protagonist. You don't even know his name. You don't care about him. You know nothing about him.
Well, I've never seen Tenet, so it doesn't hurt my feelings.
I love it. You were in it and you've never seen it.
Yeah. Okay.
He came, Christopher Nolan came back, in my opinion, with Oppenheimer because it's literally just a story about some dude's life. So it's like a really cool character piece that has some cool concepts in it, but it's about him. It's about the guy. Yeah. But Inception is kind of almost the perfect balance of concept, like cool sci-fi concept, and great character work. Because there's the kind of core for Leonardo DiCaprio is there's a story involving his wife. Marion Cotillard plays his wife, and there's all the story for him and his arc and what he's trying to reconcile has to do with her. And I won't say anything more about it because it's really good, man. I could put that kind of at the top of your list if you want to check it out. It's really good, and they've got some great special effects, like when you go in to the memory, you've seen the stuff where the room is rotating.
Yeah,
George Gordon-Levitt's in the trailer and stuff. That's like you go the idea in Inception is you got to go 3 layers deep, and the deeper you go, in the mind, things like time like slows down. So 1 layer deep is like it's like maybe an hour in the real world, and 2 layers deep it's like a week, and then 3 layers deep it's like it's even longer, so in this 1 layer, in the layer above, they're in a car and they're flipping and they're rotating. So the guy who's dreaming is feeling that. And so the next layer down, they're in a building, but the building is rotating. And so George Gordon-Levitt is having a fight with this dude while everything's rotating. And so he's got to get to the next room and fight this dude. And, it's they do a really good job with with that kind of special effect and stuff like that.
If you die in the dream, you die for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, the one thing I'll say about that though is if you die in the dream world, your subconscious gets lost in like the deepest level, like that, like nobody
Oh, so you
ever
just become
goes
like a
to.
veggie?
Yeah, you just like, for you, it's like hundreds of years. You could live hundreds of
Mm,
years in the span of just like a minute in your mind,
interesting.
and so it's really good, man. Tom Hardy's in it. It's a great cast. Ken Watanabe, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, bunch of great dudes. What's the dude from Sniper?
Tom Berenger?
Tom Berenger's in it, man.
Wow,
Everybody's in this
trying
movie.
to make a comeback?
Cillian Murphy, Oppenheimer himself, is in this movie. They must, like, those dudes must be the best of friends, because Cillian Murphy, I think, has been in almost every movie
Every
that
Tenet,
Christopher
yeah,
Nolan's
he's in.
done.
Every Christopher Nolan. Is he in Tenet?
Oh, maybe
I don't
was he?
think so.
Maybe
I don't
he
remember
wasn't.
seeing.
Yeah.
Maybe he's in Batman. He's in Inception. He's in
Yep.
Oppenheimer. Is he
Obviously.
in?
I don't know if he's in Memento. Was
Is
he
he?
in The
N-
Prestige?
n- I don't think he was in The Prestige. Is he in? Because I know like directors love. They have like this loyalty to their
Dude,
talent.
Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio, just always doing movies together.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
But okay, I will watch Inception
Really
and
good,
then
man.
I will get back to you.
By
But
the way, let me just say one more thing about Inception.
sure.
Obviously, it's not a simulation, but I mean, dreams, are they very much different? They're just like simulations that our brains create for us. So that's
Yeah.
how I get it in there, folks. In case you were wondering, I brought it back to the show. Okay, it wasn't just
What
whistling
if?
Dixie. Okay.
What if our dreams, on the concept of life as a simulation, what if our dreams are just our snaps to reality,
Ah.
and then when we're done dreaming, we are back in our simulation?
Can I tell you? I had this idea. I don't know if it's actually been done. I think it kind of was done, but I wanted to come up with this like murder mystery. I'm not a writer, so it'll never happen. But you guys out there can
Chat
take this
GPT,
idea.
man.
Chat
Chat
GPT.
GPT. There
Okay.
you go.
It's basically, like a guy, he is one person in the daytime, but when he goes to sleep, he wakes up as somebody else. I think actually there's an anime about this, but he is somebody else, and he kind of semi remembers who he was in the other life. But there's like a murder in the dream, and then but in the daytime he sees like news reports about it, and so he's trying to like solve the mystery by every time he goes to sleep he becomes this person, and he has these abilities and this insight, but every time he wakes up he has this perspective. So anyway,
So it's
that's
almost
as
like
far
two
as
detectives.
yeah, it's as far as I ever got with it. So somebody out there, you guys can
Oof.
listen to this, and if you're a good writer, you can take that and run with it. So
Nah, man. Patent it. Use ChatGPT. There,
all
you're
right,
welcome.
ChatGPT.
Yeah. Well, we've talked a lot about movies. We did some TV shows. Well, I know there's a lot of video games
Dude.
that deal with simulations, and I mean, I
Mhm.
think one of the most popular ones is the Assassin's Creed series.
Totally. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, man. And the less popular and less well done movie, Assassin's Creed. But
Oh, yeah.
I got to admit, man, the only Assassin's Creed game I've ever played is Black Flag, which among the fandom I think is probably one of the more popular ones. The only thing about Assassin's Creed is, you guys can tell me, those who have played through the franchise, is like, I don't care about the real world,
Yeah.
especially in Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Like there is like there's nothing interesting happens in the real world. You're like forced to go through these first person cutscenes and play through 10-15 minutes of just the most inane, boring stuff. You're like, I want to get back to being on a pirate ship, man. I want to go like swim in the Caribbean and drink it with my buddies and having ship to ship combat,
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think the only Assassin's Creed game I've played is either Assassin's Creed 2 or 3, and that came out a long time ago. Maybe even the original Assassin's Creed was the only one I played. But I mean, as far as the plot of the Assassin's Creed games, for those of you that have never played it, is you're essentially part of a bloodline, and there's like, you're living in the future, and there's like this team, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they're trying to like tap into the memories of ancestors to figure out what's like events that happened.
Yeah.
So basically, through the bloodline, you're put into this like simulation machine that sends you back to see through the eyes of your ancestors, and you basically play you play these ancestors and you do what they did, and the whole point is to like to learn what they were doing for the simulation.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yeah. It's like this, well, apparently everybody in the in the Assassin's Creed, all the main characters were a part of this secret organization
Yeah,
of
the syndicate.
assassins.
It's like the Assassin Syndicate or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. I don't like I said, I've only ever played one of them, and to me the lore gets a little kind of wonky. All I care about is the different timelines and the different, now we're doing like Vikings, the newest one,
Yeah.
Mirage, is the Middle East, and you do Egypt the Greek times, Odyssey, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So it's basically just a really highfalutin excuse for action adventure in different time periods to play an assassin.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we're there for the parkour. It's all about the parkour in
All about the
Assassin's
parkour,
Creed.
baby. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's see. You have
Well, I got one.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, if we talk about, we could talk about Super Mario Brothers 2, which all takes place apparently. It's all a dream, which really was just a palette swap of a different game that they put the Mario characters into. So
Sure.
it's all just a dream at the end. That's the classic like conceit in movies, television, video games. Is like if you want to make something have a twist, you think it was all a dream, it was all a simulation, But
Yeah.
I got to be careful about this one because I want people to play it, but it's so freaking good. It's one of my favorite games probably of all time. It's called Soma,
Mhm.
and
What does SOMA stand for again? Isn't it
Soma
an
means
acronym?
body.
Oh,
And yeah, Soma I think that it means body. But it came out let's see, like what 2015, I think. And it's the same people that have done Amnesia, The Bunker, Amnesia, Rebirth. So they do really good at horror, kind of psychological horror, atmospheric, darker games.
hmm.
And you're basically this dude in Canada, and you're going to get this kind of brain scan done because you've been having these headaches, and it's kind of this new technology where they can like map your brain basically.
Yeah.
And you go there to the office in Canada, like modern day, and then they do the scan, and all of a sudden the main character is in this like dark lab. Like he doesn't know, it's all broken down, and then he finds out like it's under the ocean, and
Yeah.
there's nobody around. There's just these crazy robots that are roaming around trying to kill you. So it's not like it's like hide and seek kind of stuff. You're trying to sneak around and try to get past these crazy robots. But the game ultimately deals with kind of the nature of consciousness, because you meet this woman and she's always on a television screen. She's like, you need to come this way and you come follow me. And then you find her and she's in the computer. She's like, listen, I know this is weird. I understand I'm in a simulation, but I am a human being. I've had my consciousness transferred into this computer. And like, then she becomes kind of the main character's partner along the way. And then he finds out, like, he thinks he sees himself normally, like his hand and stuff, like a normal human hand. But then he realizes that he is in a robotic body as well. And so it's like, it brings up all these questions of like the nature of consciousness. What is humanity? Like, are you just your mind, or are you your body? Like, is a human being a mind and a body, or is it just the thoughts in your head, And so
Deep.
it's super mind bending. It's done really well. Like a lot of there's been games and movies and television shows that have tried to deal with this in the past, I think to greater and lesser success. To me, this is one of the best ones, the best examples of kind of exploring this nature of consciousness type idea. But it's called Soma. It's a horror game. I know a lot of you guys out there can't do the horror. If you are intrigued enough by the idea, I would say put yourself through the experience, because it is, to me, it has one of the best endings in video game history.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a bold statement, my
It's a
friend.
bold strategy, Cotton. But yeah, Soma is super great. Like I say, sorry, I don't want to give too much away, but it really impacted me to the point, obviously, that I'm talking about it with such high praise. But yeah, super great. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can bait the hook with, but really great, really great. We're talking about simulations today. I guess it's in terms of how it hooks up to the. I really can't talk about the simulation because it's more, I guess, maybe Soma has to do with like the nature of consciousness. Like you see yourself and you think that you are one thing, but in the game it turns out you're something else. Yeah, you think you're a human being, and you have your own same thoughts, then you're like, I know who I am. I'm a dude from Canada, from Toronto, but now I'm a robot. Now I'm in a robot body. And then the person you're playing, the helper, the other protagonist in the game, she doesn't even have a body. She's just on a computer screen,
Interesting.
And so it's done really well. I think it's I've played some of the other games, a little bit of the other games that this company came up with. This is, in my opinion, the best one.
Okay, well, I think you did a great job of laying the bait out there for everybody that's curious to play Soma. Well,
Yeah.
nice, man. That's, you talk about it with such passion that I'm sure whoever plays it will feel just as strongly as you do.
I hope so.
Unless you're just a crazy person and then they play it and they're like, "Wow, thanks Izzy
Yeah.
for wasting hours of my
Yeah.
life."
It's my
Yeah.
catcher in the rye. I'm really just a
Yeah.
crazy weirdo. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're running out of time here, folks. So we are going to do our fan question and then play our game as we always do in PCFM fashion. And this fan question comes to us from, I'm going to try to not butcher this username, but Sir Bigness. Oh, that's way easy. Okay. No, I got yeah, Sir Bigness 98 via Instagram. And they said, in Halo Reach, we see a team of special operators in an unwinnable scenario that ultimately claims the lives of most of the team. If you were in a similar situation, not necessarily in the context of Halo, where Cam and Izzy, both special operators in the strongest military around, are now losing side in an increasingly hopeless scenario, what would be your plan?
Phew.
Whew, that's a deep, deep question there, man. Well, I've said this one time and I'll say it again, and it might be selfish of me, but I would rather die in a pile of my own smoking hot brass than live on my knees like a fucking coward. So, I mean, it's very hard to just be like, oh yeah, I do this, because a lot of the times when we're presenting these scenarios, or if you're living in the moment during this, there are a lot of factors that you need to consider. Like, my time in the army, I was mainly single. So like all I cared about was the guys around me and making sure they come home
Mhm.
safe and sound, because a lot of them have families. But now, I'm starting a family of my own. No kids yet. So don't be like, oh my God, Cameron's having kids. But obviously, I have a fiance and my family here, and like everything I'm doing now is to make sure that they are okay. And I can't do that if I am out of the picture.
Right.
So it really depends on a lot of different situations. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Sir Bigness. Even in all your bigness, I can't give you a direct answer, because I would need to know a little bit more context than this. But
Yeah.
I mean, if we're losing side in an increasingly hopeless scenario, do everything you can do, everything within your ability to your main mission in my head is the safety of my men,
Right.
right? So making sure that they're fine, making sure that they're getting home safely. So if that means, pulling back and letting someone else take that fight, absolutely. But if also on the flip side, if us pulling back is going to get a lot of other people killed, hold what you fucking got. And Izzy would say, pray to God. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not our motto, but that others may live, that's
Yeah.
that's the thing is I'm trying to imagine myself in some kind of scenario. It's when you don't think about the fact that you're losing, you're just trying to continue to do your job as best you can,
Yeah.
with whatever that may mean. Um, like you said, if it looks like the best position for me to be in is to continue to follow orders and continue to hold what I got in a position, then that's what I'm going to do. Because hopefully in your life you realize that there are fates worse than death, and there are things worth fighting for and giving your life for if you have to.
Yeah.
I think about my wife too. I think that if I think she understands my sense of duty, and so if I was ever in that position, I think I would be okay giving my life, and
Yeah.
holding it to the last man, knowing that she would understand that I have those principles in play, and she would respect me for going out like that.
Yeah.
uh, she can
But this
also
is all
take
a
care of herself.
yeah. But this is all hypothetical. So we can say
Yeah.
whatever we
I'm
want to make it
sitting in my
sound cool.
living room, fat and happy.
Yeah, exactly. So a little bit of answers from both of us, Sir Bigness 98. We hope we answered your question. Now we have a game, but I do not see it. So that can only mean one thing.
That means I'm the master now. The game master, that
Oh,
is.
I thought it means I'm living in a simulation because I have no
Oh
control.
yes. Well, actually, it's kind of in line with it. I'm excited for this one. Chris has gotten a little creative. What better game to play to end this episode than the classic? Is it real or is it something I made up?
Oh, great.
I'm going to give you the title and synopsis of a movie, and you tell me if it's a movie that actually exists or if Chris just pulled it right out of his butt. Just pulled it right out and put it on the page. Pulled it right out of the
Okay.
butthole.
Well, we all know that this game's going to be extremely challenging because there are movies out there that will blow your freaking mind that are actually real.
Oh my God.
And blow your mind in the reason that why would this ever be a movie? So
Yep.
this is, to me, the odds are 50-50 unless I've actually seen this. So I'm ready, man. Whenever you want to start, let's do it.
All right. No warm up because you're not an infant. Let's do the first one. The first one is called Tiptoes. The film's plot revolves around an average-sized man who struggles with revealing to his pregnant fiancée that his entire family are
Midgets.
little people. As he worries that their unborn child may be born with dwarfism, as he worries about his unborn child being born with dwarfism, the film attracted controversy for casting a non-dwarf actor, Gary Oldman, as
Gary
a dwarf.
Oldman plays the crazy brother. Yeah. I haven't seen this movie, but I know all about this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there's a famous line, because Matthew McConaughey is the main guy.
Oh.
And he's like, they're not midgets. They're little people. Yeah. So yeah, no, this is definitely a real movie that is on my list to watch because reading the plot, you're like, what in the hell? Because all of Matthew McConaughey's family are little people. The entire family, like cousins, in-laws, all that, they're all
He's
little
the
people.
only
And
one
he's the
who's a
only
normal
one.
size.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, this is a real movie.
That's all. You are correct, man. It's a real movie, man. Well, good for you. I'm surprised you'd heard of it. I'd never heard of this movie.
I'm telling you. So kind of banking on my first thing where like there's a bunch of movies out there that you would never believe exist. Most of those movies I've gone out of my way to find out if they are real. So who knows? I've seen some weird movies. Haven't seen Inception, but I've seen some weird movies.
Oh, man. Well, let's see if you've seen this one, if it exists. Rubber. A car tire comes to life with the power to make people's heads explode. To make people explode.
Telekinesis.
Yeah, murderous rampage, the California desert.
Okay, so this is a real movie, and I actually just started watching this.
Oh, you just started?
Yeah, it's like a super indie film. I actually think I've talked about this movie in a past episode. So Rubber's a real movie, and it has this very thought-provoking monologue right in the beginning.
Right in the
So like
beginning.
it
The
doesn't.
dude drives up and he's knocking over all the cones. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he comes out and he's just like, what does he say? It's because why not? But
Yeah,
it's like a lot of the
it's like a
themes
why do things happen the way they
happens
do or whatever?
just
In a
cause.
story yeah, just because, yeah.
Just because, and that's like the entire monologue is he's like, so this movie is paying homage to just because. He's
Yeah.
like, why does the tire come to life and blow people's minds up with telekinesis? Because. Like there is no reason behind it. It's just because. Yeah,
Yeah.
so honestly I really liked that because like while he's doing the monologue, he's doing such random things. And
Yeah.
he's like, why did he just get out of the trunk? He's not even driving.
Yeah.
And then he like goes and he pours out water and then tries to drink it or something. And it's just because they can do that. Yeah. So yeah, Rubber is a real movie.
You are correct. It's a real movie, man. All right, let's move along. You're doing pretty good so far. This next one, if it exists, is called Hunter Killer. Detective Bates hunts down a murderous serial killer called the Midnight Marauder. As he gets closer and closer to discovering the killer's identity, he finally realizes that he is the man he's hunting, and his undiagnosed split personality disorder is to blame. A standout performance from Tom Berenger.
Haven't seen this one. He even puts an actor in there.
Yeah.
Really good, Chris, if this is made up. But I feel like I've heard Hunter Killer as a movie title, but I don't know if it has to do with this exact, like, is this the plot that matches that Hunter Killer? I'm just going to go ahead because it sounds like a real movie. So I'm just going to say it is a real movie. And if it's not, Chris did an excellent job.
Chris did do an excellent job. It is a fake movie.
It's a fake. Yeah. Oh,
Tom
great. Even
Berenger,
Tom Berenger.
star of Inception, but not star of Hunter Killer because it doesn't
Oh,
exist.
man. Yeah, well, good. Well, maybe we should write that one up, Chris, because it's a great plot.
That's good, man. I think what Chris does is he finds real movies and then he like tweaks things a little
Yeah.
bit. Unless he's just super creative. He does write scripts, so maybe he did just come up with that just right out of
Okay.
his butt.
Yeah. Is the next one going to be a guy falls asleep and he becomes somebody else, and then he wakes up and he tries to solve a murder?
If so, I'm gonna sue Chris for stealing the idea. Oh, maybe Chris can write that movie.
Yeah. There you go, Chris.
The Trenches. Set during World War I, after a bloody battle, a group of British soldiers find themselves cut off from the rest of their unit. As they try to navigate their way back, they realize they're not alone. They begin being picked off one by one and soon discover the horrible truth. The thing that is hunting them is not a human, and they have no way to stop it.
It is the trench themselves. But is this called The Trenches? We talked about this movie. This is literally verbatim. But I don't. Is it called The Trenches? Yeah, I'm just gonna go with it. Yeah, this is a real movie, and we talked about it during our military versus monsters, and it stars Young, who plays Schmeagol in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, Andy Serkis?
Yeah, Andy Serkis is in it, and he plays this crazed barbarian. So yes, this is a real movie.
1 second. He says fake. But I know what movie you're talking about. Death Watch.
Death Watch. It's not called The Trenches, but literally he copy and pasted the synopsis, and then he just changed the name. But
Yeah.
it is a real movie, Chris. It's just not called Trenches.
It's just not called The Trenches. That's so weird. Yeah, because this is literally what Death Watch is about. In the middle of World War I, 9 British soldiers caught by an enemy line seek refuge in a network of German trenches. They soon discover that they're not alone, and it is a German soldier that's hunting them down.
Yeah. I got you, Chris. So you take real movies and you just say on their way out, because they don't. They end up staying there waiting for help. So what? Do I get this one or do I not get this one? What was the deal?
I'll give you a half a point because you didn't you got the premise, but you didn't get the title. So.
Death Watch. Yeah, that's Death Watch.
All right, last one, man. Bubba Hotep. After falling into a lengthy coma following a freak accident involving hip gyration, a now-aged Elvis Presley wakes up in an East Texas nursing home, where he befriends an African-American senior who claims to be President John F. Kennedy. After residents of their quiet retirement community start dying of dubious unnatural causes, Elvis and Jack discover that the perpetrator is Bubba Hotep, an Egyptian mummy with murderous intentions.
Okay. This sounds way too ridiculous not to be a C-rank movie. So I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, this is absolutely real.
It is absolutely real, starring Bruce Campbell from Evil Dead, the Evil Dead movies.
No, wait.
He
What is
plays
this
Elvis.
called?
Bubba Hotep, and it's actually a really good film.
Really?
I think it's the director of Phantasm who directed it, Don Coscarelli. But yeah, it's really good, man. It's funny. It's low budget. Yeah.
As
Phantasm.
it is. Okay.
Oh, and Beastmaster. He wrote Beastmaster. Anyway, but yeah, Bruce Campbell does a great job as Elvis. It's a fun little film. It's one of those things where the premise is so ridiculous. You're like, I have to see this movie to find out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, this is on my list now. It actually just went above Inception in my in how bad I want to see this movie.
Well, you did it, man. You got most of them, man. Good for you. And you get that half point for the Trenches / Death Watch. But good job, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, weird movies are I pride myself on watching them. I'm going to dispute that Death Watch one, Chris. So you'll hear from me.
Yeah, you're gonna be hearing from our lawyers, Chris. Which are your lawyers. But folks, that is it. That's all the time we got for today on this episode of the Pop Culture Field Manual Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you come back. And if you liked this, please join our Patreon. We have extra episodes and a monthly movie live stream that we do with our community, our top tier subscribers. Lots of fun. So if you like this and you want more of it, definitely join our Patreon, PCFM Podcast on Patreon, baby.
All right. And with that, folks, thanks for joining us. And as always,
cue music.